What's going on, everybody? My name's Derek and welcome to the Tiny Raptor Farm. What's going on, everybody? I'm back. Hope everybody's having a good Christmas season so far. I know me and my house, we've spent a lot of money so far, so I hope your pocketbooks are doing good. Now, today I want to talk about a little subject that we normally don't talk about, and that is death on the homestead. You're always going to have a unexpected death, like chickens or rabbits or ducks or whatever kind of animal you have. You're always going to have an unexpected death. You know, that's not, you can't get around that. But also another thing I want to talk about is having to put down your animals on the farm. Like if you're raising chickens and stuff for meat, you know, eventually you're going to have to put them down. You can't sit around and wait on them to die, because if they die, chances are they're not going to be good, or they're not going to be edible, or you know, because they could have died from like some kind of disease or sickness or something, and you don't want to be eating that type of stuff. But so let's talk a little bit about that. Now, this is a cone that we use to put our chickens down with. I believe this is a 6-inch cone, and it's not, or the bottom of it right here, if you watched the video before, I'd mentioned that we had to cut this out because our Jersey Giant chickens, well, we did it for the Cornish Cross hen chickens that we put down, because they were so big that, you know, you probably get that much of a beak hanging out of it, and then you couldn't get to their neck to cut their head off. But so we had to cut the hole in here bigger. But now for our Jersey Giants, they're a lot bigger than the Cornish Cross chickens, so when they get old enough, I may have to cut this out again, or I may have to get a bigger one. But now we've had chickens for probably 4 years now, and we've still got some of the chickens that we've had from the beginning. And you know, my kids have named all of them, the missus has named all of them. They've, you know, a bunch of them are pretty close to our hearts, even though they don't exactly jump in our arms and snuggle with us or nothing, but they're still pretty near and dear to our hearts. And we've already put some of them down. When we did the Cornish Cross chickens, we did a few of the egg layers, and which are the ones that are close to our hearts. But it definitely sucked, because, you know, we've seen them grow from babies, and they've been with us their whole life, and so they knew us, they knew what to expect, they knew what we expected of them, and you know, they were pretty close to us, like I said. But when they were babies, we set up a little tent inside the living room, because we had them inside the house when we started off, and we grab all of them individually. One of us would lay down, we'd take turns doing it, but we'd lay down in the tent, and one person lay down in the tent, and we'd put all the babies in there, and they'd jump all over your face, and then some of them would crawl right here between your shoulder and your neck and go to sleep. And you know, it was fun, and we absolutely adored it. But you know, we knew that there was eventually going to come a time we'd have to put them down. Now, a lot of times you come out here and they're running around and foraging and stuff, and sometimes they'll be in a big group, and sometimes they're spread out. But you always want to run and jump in the middle of them. If you're like me, you want to jump in the middle of them and snuggle with them, or pick them up and hold them and pet them. You know, every once in a while we can catch one to where you know, we can pick it up and pet it or whatever. But now my son and my daughter, they're better at catching them than I am, but that's because I don't feel like running. But nonetheless, it's heartbreaking having to put these little things down because they're so cute, and even though they're dumb as a bag of hammers, they're still cute, and in a way they're kind of smart. But you know, it still doesn't mean that it's any easier taking a life from these things because they're just so cute and they're so lovable. And even our ducks, you know, and I'm fixing to have to put them down too because and this is another reason, is because these right here, they are absolutely serving no purpose whatsoever. And now we're spending extra money and extra time for buying feed and stuff for them, and they're just sitting there. They're not laying eggs anymore, and you know, it's time to put them down. But and I believe, sorry, my arm was shaking. And I believe that I put a recipe for the ducks. No matter of fact, I did. In one of my other videos, I put a recipe for the ducks, and I'll get the video, put the link in the description section so you can go in there and watch it. But when you come to a standstill and that animal is not serving its purpose anymore, you're gonna end up having to put it down. I mean, you can't keep them all as pets because that's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort that you're putting into these animals to take care of them. And you know, most of us, we don't have the resources and stuff. Now if we had we're on 6 acres right now, and if we had like 20-30 acres, you know, I can have maybe a 2 or 3 acre garden that I could grow corn and, you know, and maybe a couple other extra fields of excuse me, a couple of extra fields of like hay or something, you know, and then we could afford to feed them. You know, the only thing we'd spend is the diesel for the tractor, you know, which I don't have right now. But you know, it'd be a different story. But right now, you know, these ducks have served their purpose, and it's time for them to go as well. And so let me go talk about my rabbits. Now these things are, let me get them in there. These things are so cute, and you know, that's one of homesteaders' favorite animals is either the chicken or the rabbit. You know, that's, you know, the cutest ones anyway. To me, would be the rabbit. Ducks and chickens and all that stuff is really cute. They're sniffing me. Hey, baby. Hey. See? Point proven again that you just don't, it's hard. It sucks because they do stuff like that, and you don't want to, you just don't have the heart to put them down, but you just got to. It's going to break your heart, but you know, these are food. It's going to put meals on the table for my family, you know, and their pelts are going to eventually be either moccasins or something, you know, something that's going to benefit us. And we have to figure out what our priorities are. And you know, my priority is feeding my family. You know, my priority isn't this rabbit's life anymore, because right now, you know, all these are sisters, and I took their brother out. Their brother, they started picking on him, or we thought they were picking on him, and then they was biting his butt and everything and scratching him up, and he had scabs and cuts all over his back and his butt and stuff. And so we thought it was his sisters, you know, attacking him or whatever. And it probably still was. But well, let me say this: took him out and put him in the kennel inside the house and let him heal up, and he started doing real good. And then once, you know, every day we were having to change the kennel out and clean it out or whatever. And so we because it stinks. So we put him outside in a little kennel that we usually keep our feed and stuff in on the porch. So we took all the feed out of it and put some straw and stuff in there, and put him a feeder and a waterer in there, and put him in there. And ever since he's been in there, and it could be because, you know, he's in isolation, but he's become a little jerk. Like, you open that kennel, the first thing he does, he'll lunge at your hand. You know, if he don't lunge at your hand as soon as you open the kennel, once you go to feed him, he'll lunge at your hand, try to bite you. And you reach in there and pet him, he'll snap around at you, try to bite you. So, you know, even though he's a butthole, is turned into a butthole or a little jerk or whatever, it's still not going to be easy to put him down, because since he was in that house, you know, sometimes we open the kennel and let him run around and stuff, you know, and the cats loved him, and even the dogs loved him, you know. But so nonetheless, it's gonna suck having to put him down. But I'm gonna end up having to do that this weekend. I've got to put those ducks down, and I got to put the rabbits down, and these little babies are going too, and I hate it, but you know, it's meat in the freezer, and it's what's going to help take care of us later down the road. Now look, point proven again. See the little fluffy button there digging? That's just so cute to me, and it makes it even harder to have to make that decision to put them down. But her and the other male, the ones that stay in this cage, they're safe for now. They're not going anywhere for now. We're probably gonna let her have one more litter, and then we'll put her down. But also, another thing is, when you are breeding animals, now after a while, you're gonna have to get complete new chickens or rabbits or ducks or whatever you're raising, because after a while that bloodline starts getting unpure. And it'll get to the point where their babies will turn out with mental and physical deficiencies, and so eventually you're going to end up having to buy some more. So in the future, you know, the way this world's going right now, you're probably going to have to find another homesteader who has the chickens or the rabbits or you know, whatever animal you're doing, and see if you can do a trade-off with them, and you know, so that way you can, both of y'all's bloodlines of your animals can stay pure. And because I've never eaten a handicapped, mentally or physically handicapped animal. I've never ate one, so I don't know if it's different, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure that as hard as it is to put down an animal, a normal animal, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 10,000 times harder to do that. So, but not only, I mean, don't do it for that, but do it for the fact of keeping your animals pure, keeping the bloodline pure, because, you know, please don't keep doing that to where you'll have animal deficiency in them, because that just breaks your heart, and I don't think you want that. I don't want that either. So keep them pure. Also, I'd mentioned before that we're not going to have ducks anymore, because they're absolutely messy. And, you know, like for example, see how dirty that water feeder is? It was clean like day before yesterday, and it's right back to it again. I don't know how they splash stuff up there like that, and because I know they're messy, and when they get in there, they just. If you ever heard a duck drink, it sounds like a little water machine gun. That's the only way I can describe it. But it's but they sling it everywhere, and they get mud everywhere, and they're just absolutely messy. So, in my opinion, I don't want ducks anymore. They're really, really good, but I don't want ducks anymore. Maybe in the future we might get some more, but it's not going to be. These are mallard ducks, so we're probably not going to get mallard ducks again. We're going to get something that's a little bit bigger. They got a little more meat on them, and hopefully they taste the same. Now, death on the homestead. Here's how you could cope with it. You can't. You got to do it in your own way. I can't tell you how to do it because it's rough. It's not easy. So you're just gonna have to figure out your own way to do it or how to cope with it. I know for us, when we went to put chickens down and stuff, it was real rough the first 2 or 3 chickens, but as you keep going along, it gets easier and easier. But you know, it's always that first animal that you put down that's always the worst. But again, I promise you, it gets easier as you go along with it. If you do more than one at one time, you know, if you do 10, 15, 20 chickens or whatever, yeah, it gets a lot easier as you go along, and eventually it just kind of becomes like almost like a job kind of thing, and like it doesn't really bother you anymore. But so after a while, you know, if you're only doing like 1 or 2, it's going to be rough. But now rabbits and whatever other animals, you know, our rabbits is gonna suck because they're a lot cuter than what those chickens are, and they're a lot just cuter, I guess. But it's gonna be hard and it's gonna suck, but we're gonna have to deal with it. We're gonna just have to bite the bullet and do it. You know, like the saying goes, ain't nothing to it but to do it. So that's what you gotta do. It's not easy. This life ain't easy that we live on these homesteads. It's not easy. You can go out and ask any homesteader. I want you to go on YouTube. I want you to find homesteaders everywhere and comment on there and ask them if it's easy, if it gets any easier putting their animals down. And they'll tell you, probably tell you the same thing. Most of them will tell you the same thing. It gets easy. It's hard as crap at first, but then it starts getting a little easier. And then if you have a period in between, like let's say a couple months in between of when you put your animals down, once you go back to it, it's gonna suck again. And then after, you know, 3, 4, 5 chickens or rabbits or ducks or whatever, then it's gonna get a little easier. But all of them's gonna tell you it's hard. You know, if you want your own homesteading life, if you want your own homestead, then these are one of the things that you're going to have to deal with, is death on the homestead. It's not fun, it's not easy, but you know, you have to think, I'm putting food on my table, I'm feeding my family, you know, I'm feeding my children. You know, I'm a wilderness survival instructor, and I went to a college here in a town over from where we are, or a couple towns over, and I taught at a university for a couple hours, or I went and gave a speech at a university. And one of the things that I told them was, you know, if there were bears and deer and rabbits and squirrels and all that stuff, if they were all piled up in a pile somewhere, and if I knew they wouldn't kill me, I'd lay down in the middle of them and snuggle with them. I love animals, man. I absolutely love them. But my kid comes to me and says, "Daddy, I'm hungry. You know, Bambi's got to go. Thumper's got to go. You know, I got to do what I got to do because my family takes priority over these animals. You know, even though these animals are priority to my family because of the food or the food providing for my family. I guess I probably said that completely wrong, but even though these are priority for my family takes priority over anything else. So, you know, minus God. You know, God takes priority over everything. You know, spiritually, mentally, physically, earthly, everything. He takes priority over everything. And then it comes my family. So if I got to put animals down, even no matter how bad it sucks, to feed my family, that's what I got to do. Okay? So if you want your homestead, if you want to build your own homestead, these are one of the things you're going to have to deal with. This is the sucky side of homesteading. Okay? So bear that in mind, and you know, be strong. You have to put your big boy britches on or your big girl britches on, and you got to take care of what you have to take care of. Okay? Now I love you, and I know this video is kind of short, but I love you, and thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and share this video as much as you can. Like it as many times as you can. You know, all that other cool stuff. But anyways, I love you, and thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you next time.